All right, we have another great Wedgwood Coffee Break conversation for you today. Today we are chatting with Brina. Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been here at Wedgwood, and a little bit about what you do here?
Yeah, so I started at Wedgwood as an intern in the trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy program. I think that was in 2015, 2016, like the academic year. And then I decided to come back as a full-time employee in 2017. And I was a full-time TFCBT clinician. And then more recently, as of 2021, I transitioned into the supervisor role here at the Bauma Counseling Center. And so currently overseeing the trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy program, as well as our community care management program.
Great. How would you describe Wedgwood's approach and services for mental health?
So we are at a time of change in a great way. We are trying to do an integration between all of our programs. So we are hopeful to grow clinicians to allow them to expand their clinical expertise instead of having them maybe have one niche specialty, like provide them the training, the skills they need to have multiple specialties or be able to see a dynamic caseload. And so Wedgwood's approach at this time is we want to take anyone, age, gender, any background. And so we, instead of having it be focused on like our niche, we want it to be like where our doors are open to serve the community at need. Mm-hmm. So it's a very exciting time for that change. And then also I know clinicians are excited to maybe they've always had an interest in a program that they've not worked in, but they now get to learn that program as well and get that hybrid caseload.
Mm-hmm. So it's not only good for the clinicians to be more well-rounded, but the people who are coming to us are often dealing with more than one challenge, I guess. So it gives them a more well-rounded service too.
Yeah. And so we, like payer sources will always have like requirements or recommendations for specific programs. And so we will grant and follow those type of contractual obligations. But then we can also tailor our clinical expertise to meet the client's needs. So we may have a client in this niche program, but we can take a skill set from a different program and adapt it to that program to provide them a well-rounded care approach.
Mm-hmm. And I know every person and family story is different, but how would you describe who's coming to Wedgwood for mental health support and what sorts of things are they dealing with right now?
Yeah, so I will say that the level of acuity of care cases that we've experienced since the pandemic and also our community violence has massively grown in need. So we have always been known to serve youth and adolescents. However, hopefully everyone knows this by now, but we also do serve adults here at Wedgwood in our Bauma Counseling Center. And before, like before the pandemic, before the increased community violence that we've been seeing over the last couple of years, we've had a level of care where the referrals that we got, maybe the families that we were seeing or the clients that we were seeing, it was enough to just be seen once a week. But now our acuity is so much higher and the need is so much greater, and the wait lists are so much longer that by the time they get in services, we're looking at the need to be way more than once a month or once a week, or even needing more of those niche programs that I referenced earlier. Like we have way more people in those niche programs versus just traditional outpatient counseling.
Mm-hmm. So they need something a little more specific and targeted for whatever it is they're facing.
Correct.
And you touched on this a little bit, but how have you seen people's needs shift from pre-COVID to during COVID to this sort of post, in quotes, COVID we're in right now?
Yeah. So the level of need has definitely increased. So we are all human beings. And so with being human beings, we need social interaction. But unfortunately, it was not the safest time for that. And we adapted as best as we could and were able to connect without that face-to-face interaction. But some people thrive on that face-to-face interaction. Mm-hmm. And so there's also been changes in the amount of services that are available to families throughout the community. So for example, we were at a time pre-COVID where we might be able to offer a family 6 to 8 different services on top of their counseling, and not just here at Wedgwood, but partner with other partnerships throughout the community. And due to staffing difficulties or programs, unfortunately, not being able to survive the pandemic, we've now not had the access to the same amount of services because programs have shut down or have taken extended closure or leave. And so when we're working with families, the things that we kind of relied on, like those extra resources to grow or meet needs in this area while we touched on the mental health, those other areas aren't able to be. So we're kind of like also taking that on as the clinicians too. So it's kind of a wide pots of things that we're covering that we are capable of doing. It's just a different way to look at services.
Is there something you want people to know about mental health?
I think that we are continuing to grow against that stigma that comes with mental health. But I think just if people need to hear it again is you are a person first, and you are always going to be that person. You are not a diagnosis. And so a mental health diagnosis is not necessarily something that you can always see on an individual. And I think that that's sometimes forgotten. Like when people feel they get a diagnosis, they feel like just like if they were to put a Band-Aid on their skin, like they feel like they can see that. Like they're going to walk around and see that Band-Aid everywhere they go. But when it comes to mental health, that's not the case. And so knowing that we genuinely here at Wedgwood, and we take pride in that, is that we see you as a person first, and we want to meet you where you're at, and we want to help. We don't see you as a diagnosis. You are always a person first.
Oh, that's beautiful. What should people know about Wedgwood and our counseling services?
So we have a growing program. We are continuing to grow. We have our traditional outpatient services here at the Bauma Center. At this time, we are still also able to provide some telehealth services for families and clients that insurance can meet that need. We also have our community care management program. So, and then we have our trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy program. We have our trauma-informed parenting classes here at Wedgwood, and we have an expansive substance use disorders treatment program as well that serves, I think, 9 counties at this time. So we have a variety of options for families, and we really just want to meet the need as best as we can.
It's a full continuum of care. So no matter where you are on your journey, there's somewhere that we can meet you.
Yes, that's the goal. Then we do also, that's something really important, is we do have a psychiatry program here right in the Bauma Center that does not have a wait list. And so that is a great transdisciplinary team option. So your therapist and your psychiatrist can kind of coordinate together on your care just right here at Wedgwood, offering initial psychiatric evaluations, medication reviews, and they can work closely with your therapist to make sure your treatment plans align.
That's great. And I'm sure, psychiatry wait lists at other places are probably pretty long. So to have availability here is really exciting.
Very exciting. We have open availability at this time. And do not hold a wait list in our psychiatry department.
So if people want to get involved in services or get connected to somebody, what can they do?
Yeah, so we have an intake line for both our psychiatry office as well as our counseling services. And if you were to go to our website to get those numbers, because I don't necessarily have them memorized, but you can get those right off our website. But also if you call, thinking you called the counseling line, but called they will transfer internally. And so you'll get connected to the right person. You just participate in a phone screen just to get connected with the correct service. And then if there is a wait list for that program, they'll let you know. And if not, then they'll kind of start the intake packet and process.
Great. We can make sure all that contact information is in the description of the show.
Perfect.
So what is your favorite part of your job, and why do you love working here at Wedgwood?
I love the families and the kiddos, and this answer has definitely changed over the since taking this role. I would say that this new role in the supervisory. So before, my answer was always about the families we served and that I got to one-on-one directly work with. But now I would say I love watching clinicians grow. So and being a part of that growth, which is maybe selfish, but I don't mean it in that way. I just mean it is very fun to see the empowerment, the light bulbs, the humility that our clinicians practice, but to watch them from 1 month to month, especially those right out of school, or even those that have been here for years, to learn like those new niche programs that they haven't worked in before. And so it's been exciting and encouraging to watch our clinicians just kind of like spark in this integration.
So you went from investing in the families to investing in the providers. So you're just like investing in people.
That is true. Yes. That's a great way to look at it. Yes.
Is there an impactful story that has stuck with you of maybe a family or a clinician that you've worked with?
Yeah. I will say I'll use a family. So, I worked with a family here at Wedgwood, my very first year in the clinical role, and amongst the youth that I was working with, they grew so much during treatment, and we had a successful discharge from services, knowing that line of communication was open if they ever needed to come back for some maintenance type work. However, I attended and I actually know I can say this, so I attended the Wedgwood State of the Child event, and they had the young leaders speaking at that event. And unbeknownst to me, until I got to the event, one of the participants at the event was a family that I had worked with. So to watch this youth not only thrive in our sessions together and post our sessions, but then to see her take it even farther and join a group of young leaders and want to impact the community, it felt like just a massive success.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I mean, it'd been like a couple of years since I had seen them. And so to go to the event and they walk up and be like, look, it's me. And it was like, oh my gosh, you're grown.
Aww.
So that was just very exciting to see. And then I directly asked the family too. I was like, could I use this story before, like teaching new clinicians? Like, this is the type. And they're like, oh, of course.
Oh, that's so great.
So that was a great success to see that child grow that much.
And also what a great example of how Wedgwood can be with a person from like when things are really hard to when they're thriving too. So
yeah, it was
very cool.
Yeah, and I knew about that Young Leaders program that we have, or that we participate in. I don't say that we have it, but we participate in. And so, but I had no idea what kiddos are in, or what teenagers are in that program. And so to see that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, it was very exciting.
Yeah. The Teen Charge is one of our donor-funded student leadership programs. So very cool.
Yes.
Yeah. What has God made clear to you through your job and working here at Wedgwood?
That every single person has the capability to be resilient.
Amen.
So I think that that has just been evident in every part of being at Wedgwood, as well as working with the families. I also am a little biased. I think I've had the best families or the best clients work with me because I just have loved every single one. But I think that's just, I got lucky, I guess. But I also I love the community that surrounds Wedgwood. And so, I just think that God has made it, even on the hardest days, that made it clear that every single individual has the capability to be resilient.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for this Wedgwood Coffee Break conversation today, Brina. And thank you for your commitment to the kids and families that rely on Wedgwood for mental health support and treatment. We are blessed to have you here at Wedgwood, and thanks for chatting with us.